How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. So today we're talking about how this batting order is going to potentially change with the eventual return of DJ LeMahieu. Now, Anthony Volpe over the last week or so has been heating up, finally starting to showcase the efficiency we've been waiting to see from him, rather. After a rather slow start after being moved to the leadoff spot. So he's starting to heat up. Juan Soto's still a monster. Aaron Judge is getting better. Even Stanton hit a home run yesterday, who, 117 WRC plus, boosted predominantly by those home run metrics. But looking at the bottom half of this order, there's been some inconsistencies. Oswaldo Cabrera has been a bit volatile, but good when called upon for the most part this season. And then John Birdie coming back from his groin injury. They have some infield depth now. They have some depth in general now. And Cabrera being that super utility option is best case for the Yankees. Birdie, obviously a very, very solid defensive third baseman. He had a good offensive year last season, and he could play third base when the Yankees want to give Rizzo a day off if DJ LeMahieu's back. So DJ LeMahieu's return is actually important, not just for him, but it's important for Rizzo, maintaining his chronic back injury, making sure that he's healthy for the duration of the season. He's a good hot corner starter. So, we like DJ LeMahieu really coming back and helping this team, and what he can do for the bottom half of the order. Experienced veteran hitter, was really good towards the end of last season after the Yankees fired Dylan Lawson and hired Sean Casey. How James Rowson will impact a guy like DJ and making better contact and becoming a little bit more efficient than he has been over the last year or so. But Ryan, looking at DJ, what are your thoughts about his return? He's starting up a second rehab assignment on Thursday or Friday. How important do you think he is, or do you think maybe he's not that important? Maybe we really just don't need him. Maybe he's washed. What are your thoughts on LeMahieu's return and what his impact might be?
Yeah, so DJ LeMahieu is, I'd argue, one of the more interesting players in the Yankees because, as you alluded to, it's not even just a matter of, do the Yankees need LeMahieu? Like, that's up in the air, I guess, but, third base is a weird spot for the Yankees. They don't have a particular, it's not that they don't have depth, right? Birdie is depth. Peraza is coming back. He's on a rehab assignment, hit another home run today. He is depth, and Cabrera is your starter. But you don't necessarily view either of those three guys as favorable starting third baseman on a championship team. Now, the Yankees are 28-15 with their current third base situation, right? But the thought process is, okay, if you're 28-15 now, right, what about when a guy gets hurt in your pitching staff and your rotation takes a little bit of a hit? What happens if, another player were to slow down from one of your other position groups or were to get hurt? You need to make sure that you cover as many holes as possible and kind of give yourself as much quality talent. LeMahieu, I think, could at least platoon with Cabrera. Cabrera against righties has a 103 WRC+. LeMahieu has consistently hit lefties pretty well, especially last year. So, I think that platoon could certainly work. Defensively, LeMahieu is an upgrade over a guy like Cabrera for sure. It's not like Cabrera's an awful defender, but he just isn't particularly elite at third base. LeMahieu is very good at that position. And then when it comes to the batting order, right, just kind of that whole situation, you're right. Volpe heating up has kind of quieted that conversation. If over the last 2 weeks, Volpe was on just another cold streak, the cold streak just continued, we'd be sitting here talking about, okay, is LeMahieu going to be the leadoff hitter, slide Volpe down a few spots, kind of do that? Sure, that, I think that'd be a fair conversation. But as of right now, Volpe's done a really good job of, as you mentioned, just, finding himself a little bit. I like that he's hitting for a little bit more power. I think that it comes with a balance, right? Everything's a balance. You need to have enough plate discipline, enough power, enough all those things. I don't think Volpe has enough raw power necessarily to be, obviously a power hitter or anything of the sort. But I think he definitely has enough game power to, be a productive hitter on that front. And then kind of looking at the rest of the lineup, right? As you mentioned, Soto, Judge, that core is going to be fine. Now, do you want to find a cleanup hitter? Is that something you're going to want to look for? Is Verdugo more of a 5 or 6 hitter for you? Is Rizzo more of a 5 or 6 hitter for you? I think the production you've gotten from those two has certainly been better than what I think you could reasonably have projected as their median or expected outcome. If I get a 113 WRC plus from Alex Verdugo and a 122 WRC plus from Anthony Volpe, Anthony Rizzo. And yeah, I would take a 122 WRC plus from Anthony Volpe as well. Those are massive successes, right? That's 2 thumbs up. It's hard to feel anything other than good about that. But yeah, we're at the point in time with the Yankees where, it's still early, but we have over 40 games played. We're about, a quarter into the season. And a quarter into the season, all the returns have been good, but third base still remains a question mark. And of course, as you mentioned, LeMahieu, he's not a guarantee to play well. He's not even a guarantee to make it through his rehab assignment. As pessimistic as that sounds, we've seen him try to do too, and both times he's been returned earlier. In the first one, he didn't even get to start. So, I think the Yankees are going to be cautiously optimistic about a potential return for him. I am curious to see how he looks. I don't think he should be just given a starting job, though. I think he has to earn it. I think he has to earn it at this point, right? I think that's fair to Cabrera, and that's fair to everybody else.
Yeah, I think so. And really, like, the Yankees can just play the hot hand at this point. They don't need to force anybody into a given role at third base. Cabrera, Birdie, DJ, they all can play there defensively. Offensively, we've seen ups and downs and trials and tribulations. And, DJ's obviously lack of health in that right foot limits his ability to run the bases effectively. So that is concerning because John Birdie hit, is in like the 90 something percentile in sprint speed. Cabrera is at least a competent athlete. DJ is very, very slow. He is very much older. So that is something that you have to kind of factor into the equation here. But he is a very good contact hitter and he can put the ball in play. And, I do think that his 22% strikeout rate last year was like 9% higher than his career average. I do think that was an anomaly based on everything that we've seen from him, especially that post All-Star break numbers. If he comes back and plays well, though, like let's look at the upside here. If DJ LeMahieu returns, plays really well, I do think that you're kind of looking at a situation where the bottom half of your order is boosted significantly. Like, think about how important it would be if you get consistent performance from DJ LeMahieu, where he's up to bat, he puts on a single, or he hits a home run occasionally, he walks, or an extra base hit every now and then. Think about how integral that is to the bottom half of the order when you're wrapping back around to Anthony Volpe. Let's say, right now you have Gleyber Torres batting 6, and, you have Verdugo over there and, like, batting 7 or whatever it might be, vice versa. Jose Trevino's been excellent. Wells has looked good at some points. You have DJ LeMahieu, like, batting 8th, or even 9th. Screw it, put him 9th. I don't even care. And then you wrap around to Volpe, Soto, and Judge. That is like a best case scenario. I know Oswaldo Cabrera had 2 hits yesterday. He's been good at times, as I referenced, but DJ, we've seen good performance from him. I do agree with you though. Like, let the best man win. There's no reason to force him into the starting job, mainly because the Yankees have enough talent that they can just ride the hot hand. What do you think right now about the middle of this order, though, in terms of, do you still think Gleyber Torres can turn things around? We started to see a little bit better from him. What are your thoughts on kind of a little bit of a signs that he might be getting out of this cold stretch? Obviously, him batting well, him hitting well is insane. Like, that would be massive for the Yankees batting order. Obviously, I imagine you agree with that.
I mean, absolutely, right? Like, I feel like people forget Gleyber Torres he's been the Yankees' second best hitter from 2022 to 2023. That's not close. That's not a debate. That's not a conversation. That's not up in the air. That's not up for grabs. Gleyber Torres was a consistent 120 to 125 WRC plus hitter over the last 2 years prior to this one. And if we're talking about, hey, like, who's that cleanup guy? Like, who could be that dude, right? Like, I think you and I kind of envisioned Gleyber being that dude. Like, that was the idea. That was the vision. Gleyber Torres would be this team's third best hitter. And if Gleyber Torres could be like a 115 WRC plus hitter, like, dude, this lineup's stacked, right? Like you mentioned the catching tandem, Wells and Trevino, the way they play in their strong side platoons, it's phenomenal. The defensive efforts of those two. I mean, look, Austin Wells is a good defender, but I mean, Jose Trevino is so good that he makes a good defender look just like the gap is massive, even though Wells is such a good defender. Trevino is just this wizard behind the plate. And look at Gleyber Torres in terms of outs above average. He's +2 outs above average. I mean, Alex, look, I'm not an eye test kind of guy, but I will say I wouldn't necessarily believe you if you told me that he had a +2 outs above average, but somehow Gleyber does. It's good for him. I guess he makes a lot of the plays that people shouldn't make, and I guess that sometimes makes him look poor in terms of errors because he is trying to make impossible plays. And then kind of looking at the rest of the, just looking at the rest of the offense, looking at this lineup. Yeah, man, like imagine how big Gleyber Torres could be for this team if he could hit at a 115 WRC plus pace. Imagine how nice this lineup would be if they had that diversity too, because Gleyber is a very good all-around hitter. He kind of is. I guess the best way to put it is he doesn't do anything at an elite clip, but he does everything at a really good clip, and that's important, right? Like that's a versatile, important player. You could put them anywhere in your lineup, like that kind of player. Would love that. And then you look at the qualifying offer, right? Like, I hate to have this conversation, but Clay Holmes performing so well is good because if the Yankees don't bring him back, they can throw a qualifying offer on him and somebody's going to still sign him. In Gleyber Torres' case, you want to be able to throw the qualifying offer at him because if you can and he rejects it, I mean, if he accepts it, that'd be good too because you get him on 1 year. It's not bad for the Yankees at all. It's not like they have a lot of infield depth in the first place. But if he rejects it and if a team were to sign him, you get a comp pick. So let's say Gleyber and Clay Holmes were to both sign elsewhere. Same thing with Alex Verdugo. Let's throw all 3 of those players into that. The Yankees could net 3 draft picks going into 2025, knowing how well they draft too. Like the Yankees have drafted really well over the years, especially recently. Like they've done a really good job collecting minor league talent. Again, that's a different conversation for another day. If you can add 3 draft picks in that like 30 to 50 range, and you're gonna get a really good outcome from these players this year in a win now window, Alex, you could walk away with a World Series title, 3 more, second to first round picks. And obviously, if you were to sign Juan Soto for the long term, you could go from where we were in the winter of last year, which was just this awful, disgusting, like, if you don't get Soto, it's terrible, the outlook's ruined, all that stuff, to being in a really good spot. And I know, like, Gleyber Torres, you want to talk about performance, all that stuff, but I think a long-term outlook's important here, too, because we are talking about this year's team and then the next year's teams and how they perform going forward. Overall, Gleyber Torres' performance, if you're a Yankees fan and you're upset, like, the whole, like, oh, Aaron Boone isn't holding him accountable, Aaron Boone isn't playing him, Aaron Boone's playing him, he should be benching him, like, the Yankees need Gleyber Torres to do well. We all want Gleyber Torres to do well. You should want him to do well. His upside's better than John Birdie's. I'm sorry. It's better than Oswaldo Cabrera's. I don't care what, minor league player that I talk about, their upside is probably not as good as Gleyber Torres is. Gleyber Torres is one of the 10 to 15 best prospects in baseball. His upside is way better than anybody else's in the organization right now in the infield. He performs well. It'll help you win a World Series. And if you don't re-sign him, you're going to get like a first-round pick for him, basically. That's pretty good value.
Absolutely. But guys, always happy to hear your thoughts below in the comment section about this batting order, return of DJ LeMahieu. What do you think his role should be moving forward? As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.